Hello everyone and welcome to an incredible game from round 8 of this year's Tata Steel Masters edition. It is Max Warmerdam versus Wei Yi. Wei Yi, of course, has been featured many times on the channel, and he's not been doing terrible in this tournament, but not all that impressive. Out of the 7 games that he played, he got 7 draws. Max, on the other hand, he wins some, he loses some, but maybe if you guys don't know this, Wei Yi was also last year's champion of the Tata Steel, and it was a pretty, it was a pretty crazy tiebreak. It was a four people tied for first place, and then Wei Yi defeated. One was eliminated. Then he defeated Abdusatorov, and then Gukesh to win Tata Steel 2024. And now he is very much looking for that first win to get him started, as he is basically the defending champion of Tata Steel. And I've figured out why my camera was lagging, and it is such a silly thing that we could even make a game out of it. If any of you can guess in the comments why my camera was lagging in the last few videos, I will allow you to choose the quote for my next video. So let's make it like that. So let's check it out. Max has the white pieces and he opens with pawn to e4. We have pawn to e5 by Wei Yi, knight f3, knight to c6. Sorry about that. And pawn to d4. Max goes for the Scotch opening. I think this is, we've had it, of course, in the past, but here in Tata Steel, it's the first. E captures knight to f6, and now knight captures on c6. We have b captures on c6, and bishop to d3. This is the Schmidt variation of the Scotch. We have pawn to d5, e captures on d5, c captures, and here castles kingside. And here bishop to e7, followed by pawn to h3. Now, up until this point, it was a fairly casual game where they just play a line that everyone plays, and c4 is the main move here, or knight to c3, basically going after the c4 pawn. But here we have pawn to h3. Very rare move, played in the top level, played maybe by Badur Jobava and some other players, but like I said, very, very rare. We have castles kingside, rook to e1, and pawn to c5 by Wei Yi. Pawn to b3, preparing to to the light square bishop as well. Sorry, the dark square bishop. Bishop to b7, and now knight to c3. And here, there is a game that reached this exact position where knight to e4 was played, and believe it or not, it was played by Max Warmerdam. Max had the white pieces in that game. It was played in 2021 in the 23rd European Team Championship. He played it against Miguel Santos Ruiz, and that game ended in a draw. But here, after knight c3, Wei Yi plays pawn to c4, and it is now, as of move 12, that we have a completely new game. And now, look at this. Bishop to f1, pawn to d4, attacking the knight, knight to b5, and bishop to b4. Already you can see that, something has to give here. Bishop to d2 with bishop back to c5, and now rook to e5. A beautiful move by Max. Point being that if you, of course, play captures on c4, a6 just traps the knight. Or maybe it does, maybe you can go rook e5, attacks the bishop, but still, objectively, it's going to be winning for black. So after bishop c5, we have rook to e5, going after the bishop, and now knight to e4, defending the bishop. And, what can you play here? There are many moves, but I believe Max goes for the most interesting option, and that is rook captures on c5. Where if Wei Yi just plays knight captures on c5, then the idea is bishop to b4 with a nice pin here, and after queen to b6, defending and attacking the knight here. Look at this, queen captures on d4, queen captures on b5, bishop captures, and now, okay, Max would be down the exchange, but after, let's say, rook c8 and pawn to b4, followed by pawn to a4, pawn to a5, White would have a very good compensation for the sacrificed exchange. The bishop pair will be extremely strong. However, after rook captures on c5, Wei Yi threw in a Zwischenzug, as Wei Yi usually does. He played queen to f6, which is such a Scotch move, and the idea is, if Max decides that it's okay to save the rook, let's say he goes rook captures on c4, what was Wei Yi's idea? His idea was queen captures on f2, and after king h1, rook 8 to e8. You're down material, but look at the bishop, look at the queen, look at the knight. There's no way to defend. Any move that you play will be met with knight g3 check, and after king h2, look at this, so rook to e2. and that's all there is. The queen cannot capture, the knight is defending. If the bishop captures, then you're going to checkmate on g2, so there is no defense here. And of course, if you do nothing, then just bishop captures on g2, and that's curtains. So after queen f6, bishop to e1, guarding the f2 pawn, and now just knight captures on c5. So okay, Wei Yi grabs the exchange, but again, Max has the very strong bishop pair if he can get them operational. Queen captures on d4, queen captures, knight captures on d4, and rook f to d8. We have knight to f5, and c captures on b3. A captures and pawn to a6, and this is the position. Okay, Wei Yi up material. Max has the bishop pair. If he can point those bishops in the right direction, should be very good for him. Also, he does put pressure on that isolated a6 pawn. So it's definitely a nice trade-off. Bishop to c4, we have knight to e6 blocking the bishop, and now a most interesting decision. Max decides to give up the light square bishop. Bishop captures on e6, f captures, and knight to e3. And okay, the position, the decision definitely makes sense. You give up the bishop pair, which is kind of why you sacrifice the exchange. In order to get this position where you have a knight on a dark square and your opponent has a light square bishop. So the knight can never be dislodged from e3, which means that the c2 pawn can never be attacked, and it basically means that even though, okay, it's two rooks, the rooks, there's really no good way for Wei Yi to utilize them. So let's see how he does it, or if he does it. Rook a to c8, we have rook a4, rook to c5, and now bishop to b4. Attacking the rook, we have rook to e5, and bishop to c3. Attacks the rook, rook to e4, offering a rook trade, and of course Max doesn't want to trade off his remaining rook. Rook to f4, and now rook back to a5. We have pawn to h6, and now king to f1. We have bishop to c6, Wei Yi trying to throw in a nasty move. If rook captures on a6, of course bishop b5 check will pick up the rook. So Max goes back, king to g1, and Wei Yi also goes back, bishop to b7, king f1, but Wei Yi does not repeat. He goes king to h7. He wants to continue playing this. We have king to e2, and now rook to f7. Situation on the clock, also nothing too severe. Max 11 minutes, Wei Yi 23 minutes. f3, and now rook to c7. There just aren't any targets for Wei Yi's rooks, so he will have to, move them around to see what's what. Bishop to e1, we have rook c to d7, and bishop back to b4. Rook to b8, now threatening some discoveries, and just bishop back to c3. Rook to c8 once again, attacking the bishop. Bishop to b4, and now Wei Yi does not repeat. He goes rook to c6. Okay, Max needs to make a move. He goes bishop to c5, maybe with an idea of pawn to b4, but it is unlikely that Max is playing this for the win. So he will probably just keep shuffling the bishop back and forward. Bishop to c8, and now bishop to a3. Deciding against pawn to b4, we have rook to b7, bishop to b2, bishop to d7, and now rook to a3. We have bishop to e8, and bishop to d4. Bishop to f7, we have rook to a2, we have rook to b4, putting pressure on the bishop, and the bishop back to b2. We have bishop to g6 now with a double attack on the pawn here, but it doesn't matter. King to d2, we have rook to b5, and now rook to a4. Rook to b7, and now bishop to d4, and this is where the magic happens. Bishop to e8, Wei Yi goes after the rook, sort of x-raying the rook on a4, and the best way to handle this would be just to move the rook. Let's say rook to c4, and probably you decline the trade with something like rook to d6. But after bishop to e8, Max was already getting very low on time, and he played knight to c4. He even spent some 3.5 minutes going for this knight to c4 move, and the problem is it loses the game. It's not at all clear why, but you guys are amazing players. Feel free to pause the video and find the winning idea while I give you a couple of seconds. So, for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on realizing that the knight is placed on a square that does not defend the g2 pawn. And that is a very serious thing here because, pawn to e5. and that's all there is. Now there are many more discoveries. When the pawn was on e6, the rook could, you could make a couple of moves. Rook captures on c4, of course, just rook captures on c4. But now rook has access to g6, and the question is, how will Max recapture? If he plays bishop captures, of course, then rook to g6, and you put pressure on the rook. Once the rook moves, you capture on g2, and then the entire kingside falls apart, and you win easily. So Max's last attempt is knight captures on e5 that guards the g6 square, but now rook d6, and this gives Wei Yi plenty of squares to get his heavy artillery into the game. Of course, c3 is impossible. Your rook is attacked on a4, so rook to c4, and now bishop to b5, and the rook has nowhere to go. Rook to b4 was played. Now pawn to a5, and the rook has to be given up right away. Rook captures on b5. King to e3, now Max down 2 exchanges. We have rook b to d5, and the bishop to c3, and immediately pawn to a4. We have b captures on a4, rook to c5. Goes after the bishop, bishop to d4, and rook captures on c2. And now Max can try it for a little bit, but this is now mostly, tomorrow is a rest day, so might as well play a few more moves, as you will get your rest. Pawn to g4 was played, rook to a2, we have pawn to f4, and now rook captures on a4. Bishop to c5 attacks the rook, rook d5, and bishop to e7. We have pawn to g5, nothing can be done. Knight to d3, and g captures on f4 with check, and he was in this position on move 63 that Max Warmerdam resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. The problem is, of course, the rook is guarding the f4 pawn, so you cannot capture with the king, and if knight captures, rook to e5 check picks up the bishop, so that is not happening either. And that's all there is to it. You cannot... if you can capture the pawn, it's just going to be way too easy for Wei Yi to continue dominating with just being up so much in material. Tough break for Max. He was playing a very nice game. Wei Yi found... I don't okay, here Max blundered with knight to c4 and e5. Okay, Wei Yi sees that before he even blinks, but finding this move, this was the incredible move here, where Max played rook captures on c5, not recapturing right away, but first going for the decision, so queen to f6. That was the key move in the position, and I'm sure you guys, of course, were aware of that and have seen it before I've even shown it. As I like to say, you guys are amazing players. That's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. There's another game that ended just about when this one ended, so I will also show that one. Of course, you guys know which one it is, and then we are going to discuss the standings without spoiling anything, and if you guys are not following the news. So hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank John Tardif, Maximo Eisern, Pablo Mohan, Edmund Freeman, and Josip for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. And remember, whoever figures out why my camera was lagging gets to choose the quote for my next video. See you soon.